Welcome to St. George Winery. All of my grandparents came here in the late 1800s from the Portuguese Azores Islands, and they brought with them a tradition of always making their own food and wine. So I grew up around that style. I was born and raised on a dairy, and we moved our dairy up on this property when I was 8 years old. So I've been here on this ranch for a long time. Later I began making beer, and I got into that pretty extensive. And one day I was in Berkeley picking up my beer supplies. The operator, the owner of the shop, had ordered a brand new Zambella Distemper crusher from Italy for a customer. And they didn't take it, and he made me a deal I couldn't refuse. So I left the beer supplies there and came home with a Distemper. We have a wine garden that will seat about 300 people. It resembles the backyard of the Portuguese family in Portugal and the Azores, where they have grape arbors in the back of their house. Welcome to St. George Barrel Cellar. We are actually 10 feet below the tasting room. And this is where we like to age our ports and some of our still wines. And basically, it's a temperature that doesn't fluctuate much. Wine doesn't like those big spikes in temperature changes. So it stays down here for a long period of time, especially our ports, some up to 5 years. We have 5 varietals of port, and we single barrel each one of those varietals every year. So maybe in 2012, we had a great year for Tentacount, and the Zhaw-Ve was a little off. So I'm able to blend different years and bring in different seasons of port, but different percentages. So you can think of 4 or 5 years of vintages, and times 5, you can do hundreds of combinations. Welcome to the vineyard. This is where everything really starts for St. George. We started growing these grapes and planted this vineyard right here in 2007. And this is Tinta de Reis. It's a Portuguese Tempranillo. And every year we come through and we do shoot thinning. We have one guy that does all the pruning in the wintertime, but we'll leave one bud, and then from that one bud we get one shoot. So we take all of the wild stuff off and open it up and air it out, primarily to manage the vineyard. During harvest, we choice pick all by hand. We'll leave the second crop little bunches, but we will pick nothing but the best berries, no leaves. It goes into our crusher destemmer, but we do not have crusher rollers. We've never used crusher rollers here. It destems, and so what happens is that nothing but the whole berries go into the tank, and we do a cold soak at 50 degrees for about 3 to 5 days. And then we warm the tank up to 75 with a selective yeast. We start fermentation. And we take our fermentation not rapidly. We ferment probably in about 3 weeks. That's a very long time. But we want great, good extractions on our fruit. From there it goes into barrels, and we rack, and then we go back and forth, and then into malic fermentation, which is the secondary fermentation. But we take our production, like our growing, very seriously. And the more effort you put into growing and the production of wine in the cellar, the better the wine is.